I want you to think about the last time someone hurt you, really hurt you, and you said nothing. Maybe they dismissed you in front of others. Maybe they broke a promise that mattered. Maybe they spoke to you in a way that made you feel small, invisible, worthless. And you felt it rise in your chest, that heat, that pressure, that fire demanding to be seen. But you swallowed it. You pressed your lips together. You clenched your jaw until it ached. You told yourself, it's fine, I'll just let it go. But it didn't go, did it? It settled somewhere deep inside you, in the pit of your stomach, in the tension between your shoulder blades, in the thoughts that keep you awake at 3 a.m. replaying what you should have said. That's repressed anger. And I need you to understand something that no one has probably ever told you. It's not just living inside you. It's slowly destroying you. If you've been swallowing your anger your whole life, type silent in the comments. You're not alone in this. I know why you swallow your anger. I know because I've done it too. Because somewhere in your childhood, you learned that anger is dangerous. Maybe you watched your father's rage tear through your home like a hurricane, and you promised yourself, I will never be like that. Maybe your mother's anger came out as silent treatment, cold withdrawal, love withheld. And you learned, anger makes people leave. Maybe you expressed anger once, just once, and the punishment was so severe, the rejection so complete, that you never risked it again. Or maybe it was more subtle than that. Don't be angry. It's rude. You're overreacting. Calm down. Why are you always so emotional? 1,000 small messages that taught you your anger is unacceptable. Your feelings are too much. You are too much. So you learn to be small, to be quiet, to be acceptable. You learn to smile when you wanted to scream, to say it's okay when it wasn't, to pretend you weren't hurt when you were bleeding inside. And everyone praised you for it. You're so mature. You're so calm. You never cause problems. But they didn't see what was happening inside you. Research published in the Journal of Psychosomatic Research shows that nearly 1/3 of adults habitually suppress anger rather than expressing it. And the consequences aren't just psychological. People who chronically repress anger show higher rates of cardiovascular disease, chronic pain, immune system dysfunction, and even cancer. Because anger doesn't disappear when you swallow it. It just moves somewhere else. Subscribe if you want someone to finally tell you the truth about what you're carrying. Here's what happens to anger when you refuse to let it speak. It transforms. It disguises itself as other emotions because anger is too powerful to simply vanish. You think you're feeling sadness, but underneath, it's rage at being unseen. You think you're feeling anxiety, but underneath, it's fury at being powerless. You think you're feeling guilt, but underneath, it's anger turned inward, weaponized against yourself. Psychologists call this displaced emotion. I call it the fire you've been carrying in your bare hands your whole life. And it shows up in ways you don't even recognize anymore. The sarcastic comment that slips out, the passive-aggressive text, the sudden irritation at something small, someone chewing too loud, traffic moving too slow, a question asked the wrong way. And you feel guilty for these reactions because you don't understand where they're coming from. But I understand. They're coming from the anger you swallowed last week, last month, last year, 10 years ago. They're coming from every time someone disrespected you and you said nothing. Every time someone crossed your boundaries and you pretended it was fine. Every time you minimized your own pain to keep the peace. Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology, described repressed emotions as forming a shadow, a part of ourselves that exists outside conscious awareness but influences everything we do. This shadow isn't evil. It's just energy that has nowhere to go. And it's exhausting, isn't it? Carrying this weight that no one can see, pretending you're fine when you're not, smiling when you want to scream. I see you. I see how tired you are. Let me tell you what repressed anger does to your body, because this isn't just in your head. When you swallow anger, your body goes into a stress response. Cortisol floods your system. Your heart rate increases. Your blood pressure rises. But the threat never resolves because you never address it. So your body stays in this state, alert, tense, waiting for something that never comes. Over time, this becomes your baseline. The tension in your shoulders that never leaves. The headaches that won't go away. The fatigue that sleep doesn't fix. The digestive issues no doctor can explain. In The Body Keeps the Score, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk explains how unexpressed emotion literally changes our physiology. Your body remembers every anger you swallowed. It remembers every time you smiled through disrespect. Every time you stayed quiet when you wanted to speak. Every time you let someone hurt you without consequence. And it's holding on to all of it. That's why you wake up already exhausted. Why small things overwhelm you. Why you can't relax even when you're supposed to be resting. Your body is screaming what your voice won't say. And I need you to hear something that might save your life. Your anger is not your enemy. It's your body's way of telling you that something is wrong, that a boundary has been crossed, that you deserve better than what you're accepting. But you've been taught to fear it, to suppress it, to apologize for it. And that suppression is what's killing you, not the anger itself. Do you have physical symptoms you can't explain? Drop them in the comments. Let's connect the dots together. I want to talk about something specific, because I know many of you watching this are people pleasers. You're the ones who always say yes even when you want to say no. Who apologize for things that aren't your fault? Who take care of everyone else while your own needs go unmet? And people call you kind, selfless, compassionate. But underneath that kindness is something you won't admit. You're furious. Furious at being taken for granted. Furious at being the one who always accommodates. Furious at how much you give and how little you receive. But you can't say that, can you? Because if you express that anger, people might stop liking you. They might get upset. They might leave. And you learned a long time ago that love is conditional, that it has to be earned through sacrifice, that your worth is measured by how little trouble you cause. So you smile. You agree. You accommodate. And the resentment builds. Brick by brick, year by year, until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You've become so good at anticipating others' needs that you've forgotten you have any. You've become so skilled at managing others' emotions that you've numbed your own. Psychologists call this empathic overextension, when your attunement to others comes at the cost of your own emotional awareness. And the cruel irony, the very people you're protecting from your anger can sense it anyway. They feel the tension you think you're hiding. They sense the distance you've created. They notice the subtle withdrawal, the passive aggression, the coldness you don't even realize you're projecting. So you end up creating the very conflict you were trying to avoid. Because suppressing anger doesn't make it disappear. It just makes it leak out in ways you can't control. Subscribe because someone you know is drowning in resentment right now and they need to see this. Here's what you're really afraid of. You're afraid that if you let yourself feel your anger, really feel it, you'll lose control. That it will consume you. That it will destroy your relationships. That you'll become the person you promised yourself you'd never be. So you keep it contained. Like a pot with the lid pressed down. The heat building, the pressure increasing. And sometimes you manage it, the steam releases slowly through irritability, through sarcasm, through that edge in your voice that you immediately apologize for. But sometimes the lid flies off over something small, something that shouldn't matter. Someone leaves dishes in the sink. Someone interrupts you. Someone asks you one question too many. And suddenly you're screaming, or crying, or saying things you immediately regret. And everyone looks at you confused, shocked, because this isn't like you. Where did that come from, they ask. But you know where it came from. It came from every time you bit your tongue, every time you swallowed your truth, every time you prioritized their comfort over your own integrity. This is what psychologists call the frustration-aggression hypothesis. When your needs are consistently blocked, when your boundaries are repeatedly violated, anger naturally arises. And if that anger has nowhere to go, if it's continually denied expression, it doesn't vanish. It circulates. It intensifies. It waits. Until the smallest spark ignites an explosion. And then you feel ashamed. You apologize profusely. You promise it won't happen again. You double down on controlling yourself, which only makes it worse. Because the problem was never that you expressed anger. The problem is that you waited until it became unmanageable. I want you to think about something. When was the last time someone asked you, "What do you need?" And you actually answered honestly? Not, "I'm fine." Not whatever you want. But the truth. I'm guessing it's been a while. Maybe years. Maybe never. Because you've learned to minimize your needs, to dismiss your feelings, to question whether you even have the right to want anything. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm expecting too much. This is what repressed anger does. It doesn't just silence your voice. It makes you doubt that you deserve to have a voice at all. And over time, this erodes something fundamental. Your sense of self. You start to feel like a supporting character in your own life. Like your purpose is to make things easier for others. Like your feelings are inconveniences that need to be managed. In Running on Empty, Dr. Jonas Webb describes how emotional neglect, including self-neglect, creates adults who don't trust their own emotions, who struggle to identify what they feel, who can't articulate what they need. This is you, isn't it? You've become so disconnected from your anger that you've become disconnected from yourself. And that disconnection manifests as chronic people-pleasing, difficulty making decisions, feeling numb or emotionally flat, a pervasive sense that something is wrong but you can't name it. Because what's wrong is that you've been silencing yourself for so long that you've forgotten what your own voice sounds like. Here's what I need you to understand. Your repressed anger is not a monster. It's a messenger. It's trying to tell you something important about boundaries that need to be set, about relationships that need to change, about needs that deserve to be met. But you can't hear the message if you won't listen to the messenger. In Self-Compassion, Dr. Kristen Neff writes about the importance of turning toward our difficult emotions with kindness rather than judgment. This is radical for people who've spent their lives suppressing anger because you've been taught that anger means you're bad. That feeling, it makes you dangerous. That expressing it will make people leave. But what if I told you that the opposite is true? That acknowledging your anger actually makes relationships healthier? That setting boundaries actually attracts people who respect you? That expressing your truth actually deepens connection? Research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that people who can express anger constructively have stronger relationships, better mental health, and higher self-esteem than those who suppress it. Because healthy anger isn't about screaming or lashing out. It's about saying, "That hurt me. That wasn't okay. I need something different." It's about honoring yourself enough to defend yourself. And if that costs you relationships, those weren't relationships worth keeping. Because any relationship that requires you to silence yourself is not love. It's control. So how do you start? How do you begin to unearth anger you've been burying for years, maybe decades? You start small. The next time you feel irritation rising, don't push it down immediately. Pause. Put your hand on your chest and ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? What need am I denying? What boundary is being tested? Don't judge the answers. Just listen. Maybe you're angry because someone dismissed you. Maybe you're angry because you said yes when you meant no. Maybe you're angry because you've been carrying everyone else's emotional weight and no one's carrying yours. Whatever it is, it's valid. You don't have to act on it immediately. You don't have to confront anyone. Just acknowledge it. Write it down. Say it out loud when you're alone. Let yourself feel it without judgment. Because every time you do this, you're rewiring your brain. You're teaching your nervous system, my feelings matter. My needs are legitimate. I deserve to take up space. And over time, that quiet practice transforms into something powerful. You find yourself saying no without apologizing, setting boundaries without guilt, walking away from people who don't respect you. Not because you're angry, but because you finally respect yourself enough to stop swallowing disrespect. I want to tell you something I wish someone had told me years ago. Your anger is not your enemy. It's the part of you that knows you deserve better. The part that refuses to accept mistreatment. The part that insists your needs matter. The part that will not let you disappear. And I know you've been afraid of it. I know you've spent your whole life trying to contain it, control it, eliminate it. But what if instead of fighting it, you listen to it? What if instead of suppressing it, you let it guide you toward the life you actually want. Because that's what anger does when you stop fearing it. It shows you where your boundaries need to be. It tells you which relationships are draining you. It reveals which parts of your life need to change. And yes, following that guidance will be uncomfortable. Some people won't like it when you start saying no. Some relationships will end when you stop accommodating. Some parts of your identity will have to be released. But you know what's more uncomfortable? Spending the rest of your life swallowing your truth. Dying with your anger still trapped inside you. Never knowing what it feels like to live authentically. So I'm asking you to be brave. Not brave like a warrior. Brave like someone who's finally willing to feel what they've been running from. Your anger has been waiting for you. Patiently, quietly, hoping you'd finally turn toward it instead of away. And when you do, when you finally let yourself feel it without judgment, without fear, something miraculous happens. The fire that was burning you from the inside out becomes the light that shows you the way forward. The anger that was destroying you becomes the force that saves you. Not because anger itself is good or bad, but because honoring your truth, all of it, even the uncomfortable parts, is what it means to be fully alive. So stop swallowing your fire. Let it speak. Let it guide you. Let it set you free. Because you deserve a life where you don't have to pretend. Where your feelings matter. Where your needs are honored. Where your voice is heard. And that life starts the moment you stop silencing yourself. If this made you finally see your anger differently, hit that like button and subscribe, because someone you love is carrying repressed anger and they need to know they're not broken for feeling it. What's one thing you've been too angry to say out loud? Write it in the comments. Not for me, for you. Let it finally exist outside your body. See you in the next one. You're allowed to be angry.